Hello there. Today I will demonstrate this opening principle number 3, which says develop knights before bishops, on one of the most famous and most beautiful chess game ever played. This was the famous opera game played between Paul Morphy and two noblemen, one from Germany, while one from France. And if you don't know the story behind this game, I will just tell you shortly because it is very interesting. So maybe you know that Morphy at one point in his career visited Europe, and he spent, I think it was more than a year in Europe during this time. And it was because he finished his law school. I think he was like 19 or 20 years old, and according to the law, he couldn't practice law until he was 21. So he had 1 year spare. And in this 1 year he went to Europe and played with many European masters, and he won all the matches, and he basically beat everyone. But Paul Morphy was also a very educated person, and he was very interesting in high culture. He spoke fluently ancient Greek and Latin, for example. He liked classical literature, classical music. He liked visiting operas and so on. So at this time he was at Paris, and he wanted to see this Bellini's opera called Norma, and he went to the opera house. And while the opera was playing, these two gentlemen, the German noble Karl II, Duke of Brunswick, and the French aristocrat Comte Isouard de Vauvenargues. I think I probably didn't pronounce this well. But anyway, so those two noble gentlemen saw Paul Morphy in the opera, and they approached him and they asked him if he would like to play a game of chess with them, because they recognized him. Morphy was kind of celebrity in Europe at the time, because he beat so many chess masters. And the story goes that Paul Morphy was not very pleased with this request. He was maybe a little bit annoyed, because he really liked operas and he wanted to listen to the opera and not play chess. But anyway, he was too polite, and he of course said yes, and they started to play the game. So Paul Morphy played as white, and Duke Karl and Count Isouard played as black, and they were consulting each other while they were playing. So it was Morphy against the two of them. And also at that time, you will see that Duke Karl and Count Isouard were amateur chess players. They were not by any means chess players by vocation or something. But at that time, chess was considered to be a noble game, and it was part of the curriculum. So if you were a nobleman or an aristocrat, then there are some things you should know how to do. For example, you should be familiar with classical music, you should be familiar with classical languages, so you should speak ancient Greek and Latin, you should be familiar with classical literature, with history, and so on. And to play solid chess was one part of this aristocrat training, I would say. So almost all aristocrats and noblemen knew how to play chess, and they play chess, well, they play well chess, so they're not complete patzers. They had this chess training. So this is what makes this game even more interesting. And well, the story says that Paul Morphy was polite and he accepted the challenge, but then he took his revenge over the board, as we will see, and also created this really remarkable masterpiece of the game. Okay, so let's get to the game now. Morphy played e4, black responded by e5, so normal developing moves. Morphy develops his knight to f3, and now black plays d6. This is called Philidor defense, and it's considered a very passive response from black. So black is basically just waiting for white to do something here. And Morphy, of course, immediately he wants to fight for the center, so he sees this d4 square and plays pawn to d4. And now black violates the principle, and he plays bishop to g4. And there is also a very nice video, I will link this below, where Bobby Fischer on the television show, he comments on this game, this opera game, and his comment was that this was already a weak move, so this was already a mistake. So better moves were he could do anything else, so he could develop his knight to f6, or maybe this knight to d7, or he could even play something like f5 to grab some space, or capture this pawn. So any of these moves would be better than this one. So he's just developing his bishop too early. Okay, Morphy takes d takes c5, so he just seizes the center, and now black cannot recapture this pawn because of this variation. So if d captures e5, then white can exchange queens, and after that he just wins this pawn, because because in this exchanging of queens he unpinned the knight. So this knight is now free to roam. So this would be the variation. So you can see the mistake right from the beginning. So the recapture is not possible, and well, black probably thought that this is not pleasant, so he took the knight. Bishop takes f3. Of course, Morphy took with the queen. Why not? Developing a queen, and he doesn't want to double his pawns. And now black takes e5 pawn, and he's equal in material. Morphy now develops with a threat, so he develops a bishop now. And this is okay according to principle. Someone can say that first maybe you should develop first this knight on b1, but actually this principle says that you should develop kingside knight before kingside bishop. So he did this. But even if this would violate some principle, doesn't matter, because this develops with a threat. So whenever you can develop with threat, this is a good move. So now he's threatening just a checkmate. So queen captures f7, checkmate. And black has to do something about this checkmate, and he plays a natural move, knight f6, so blocking this queen, and now there is no checkmate there. But he did miss something else. This is the opportunity for Morphy to play for a double attack. So he plays this queen to b3, and now he's attacking both f7 and b7 pawn. Okay, so let's see what will be better. Maybe here just queen f6 would be better, because now this pawn would be guarded, and if Morphy would have played queen to b3, then there would be no double attack, only one attack. Okay, but he played knight f6, and Morphy seized the opportunity and made this double attack. Queen to e7 now. Now black has to choose between giving up the f7 pawn or giving up the b7 pawn, and he chose to guard the f7, and because it's more important pawn, and it will be captured with check. But by this move you can see that he's blocking his bishop. And now Morphy develops, and now he is following the principles, because he develops his knight before the bishop. And you can see when I spoke in the last video about the principle of least commitment. So you can see that this bishop, we still don't know which square is the best for this bishop. Is it d2 or e3 or maybe g5? So by developing the knight on the only natural square, so knight, it's hard to imagine to be better anywhere but on c3. We are just taking our time, and we see how the game progresses, and then we'll decide what to do with this bishop on c1. Okay, and also this move knight to c3 comes with a threat. So you notice that in this situation Morphy didn't grab the pawn immediately, because he saw the opportunity to develop with threat. This is the real reason. So by playing knight c3, what is white now threatening? Well, white threatens to capture b7, but capture the rook in the next move. And why is this possible now and not before knight c3? Well, let's say that
Morphy captured this pawn immediately. Then black has this queen b4 with check and attacks the queen. So white is forced to trade the queens, and now bishop takes with check. And yes, white is a pawn up here. He has some developing problems, but not huge problems. So probably white should win this game in the end game. But Morphy didn't want this, so once he played knight to c3, now if queen captures on b7, there is no check on b4 because this knight interposes. Okay, so by capturing b7, the next move would just be to capture a rook on a8. Okay, so black sees this threat and he plays c6, and now avoiding this threat, because now you can notice that queen is defending b7, so this b7 pawn cannot be captured. And now Morphy decides to develop his dark square bishop, and he plays bishop to g5, now pinning this knight. This is very important. So this knight is now pinned, and this bishop is developed. And also by playing this move, white is preparing to castle long, because then he will seize this open d-file in one move. And if he would castle short, then he would have to spend another move to bring his rook to d1. So this is a much better choice now. So he developed his bishop, and in the next move, or in some move he finds suitable, he can just by one move seize this open d-file. And black is now see that he's cramped, his pieces are undeveloped, he has less space, so he tries to free up his pieces and to grab more space. And he played this b5 move, so aggressive move, attacking the bishop and hoping that things will clear out here. But Morphy now sees the opportunity for an attack, so he sees that this king on e8 is very vulnerable. He will not be able to castle in anytime soon here. So Morphy decides to sacrifice the piece in order to open the diagonals and files in order to attack the king. So Morphy plays this knight takes b5 sacrifice. And after black accepts the sacrifice, and I don't think there is anything better he can do, so c takes b5, and now bishop takes b5 with check. So piece was sacrificed for 2 pawns, but now you can see that all these diagonals, and soon this file, so this file, and this file, and this file, so everything is opened. And the white has heavy pieces and bishop ready to attack the king. So this is now very, very dangerous for black. What can black do here? Well, practically the only move is knight bd7. He doesn't want to move his king, because then this would be deadly. So black plays knight b to d7, and this knight is also now pinned. Now you can see that both black knights are now pinned. So what is the strategy when you have the pinned piece of your opponent? So the strategy is very simple. This piece cannot move, so you should try to capture it, and you capture it by piling up on this piece. So how can this piece be attacked again? Well, simply by long castle. Now you can see everything is piling up on this piece. And now, black has to do something about this. He has to defend this piece, because this piece cannot be moved. And black plays logical move, rook to d8. Another alternative was maybe to protect this piece was long castling, but this will just finish the game very soon by bishop a6 check, king to c7, and now queen b7 mate. So this is out of the question. So this looks like the only logical move. And now Morphy continues with his attack. So he just sacrificed the exchange, and he takes this knight. Black takes back with the rook, and now again, what is the strategy? You have a pinned piece, So the strategy is pile up on this pinned rook. So Morphy plays rook to d1, and now again everything is attacking the rook. So how can black defend this rook? Well, this rook is defended by the queen, but it doesn't matter much because queen will be lost after the exchange. So there is also another piece which guards this rook, and this is the knight. But unfortunately this knight is pinned. So black is looking the way to unpin the knight. And he plays queen to e6, now unpinning the knight. So you can see that Duke Karl and Count Isouard were not complete petzers. So they saw every immediate threat from Morphy, they saw and they found the response. But Morphy's attack is just too strong, so they cannot do anything now. And now everything is ready for this famous combination, which make this game famous, among other things. And now bishop captures d7 with check. Knight recaptures. This is why king to e6 was played in the first place. And now Morphy just sacrifices his queen. So queen to b8 check. The only legal move is knight captures on b8. And now rook d8 is checkmate. And so you can see why this combination and this game is so interesting. White has only two pieces, so he sacrifices everything, and black has four pieces. So he has queen, he has rook, he has two minor pieces, and white has only two pieces, but it's enough to deliver a checkmate. So white sacrificed everything, but two pieces, the minimum necessary for delivering this checkmate. So this is this famous opera game, and let's go now through the game once more, as I always advise to go through every game at least twice. So now we'll go a little bit quicker, of course. So Morphy plays e4, e5, knight f3, d6, very passive choice by black, playing filial defense. Morphy seizes the center immediately by playing d4, bishop to g4 now, very weak move, developing his bishop before his knight, developing the bishop too early, and this cannot end up well when you play this move against Morphy. So d takes e5, and now black cannot recapture, because after recapturing and white can just exchange the queen and then unpin this knight and then recapture on e5, and he will be a pawn up. This is why black captured the knight with bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, d takes e5, and now developing with the threat. So the threat is checkmate on f7. Black tries to address this threat by playing knight f6, now blocking the queen from attacking f7, and the queen moves to b3 with a double attack. So f7 is attacked and b7 is attacked. Queen to e7, trying to protect this f7 pawn and giving up this b7 pawn, but Morphy is not interested in grabbing the pawns. He plays knight c3, now with the threat that if he captures b7, in the next move he will capture the rook, and black cannot stop this, because now this knight is interposing on this diagonal, and black cannot force the exchange of queens. Okay, so black responds by playing c6, now protecting this b7 square, and Morphy plays g5, developing his bishop, preparing for a long castle, which will seize the open d file, and also pinning this knight. So very strong, very nice move. Black now tries to fight for some counterplay, to seize more space, to try to free himself up in this cramped position, and he plays aggressively b5. And now Morphy sees the opportunity to open up diagonals and lines for the attack on the enemy king, and he plays a piece sacrifice, so knight takes b5, c takes b5, and bishop takes b5 with a check. And now what can black do? He has to stop this check somehow, and he plays knight b to d7. But now this knight is pinned, and white will just pile up on this knight. So white plays a long castle. Now this knight is attacked twice, and it's defended only by a queen. So this exchange would just end up with black losing his queen. So he has to defend this knight because he cannot move it. So rook d8 is played, and now Morphy sacrifices the exchange. Rook takes d8, rook takes d8, and now this d8 rook is pinned. So Morphy piles up on this rook. Rook d1. Now everything is attacking the rook. And the only way to defend the rook is to unpin this knight. So black plays queen to e6, now unpinning the knight, and now it looks like everything is protected. But there is actually a brilliant combination here available. So bishop takes d7 check, knight takes d7, and now queen sacrifice, so queen b8 check. The only legal move is knight takes b8, and rook delivers checkmate on d8. So white finishes with only two pieces on the board, and 2 pieces are enough to deliver a checkmate. So this is a very, very nice game. You can see, if you analyze this, you can see a certain aesthetic in this game. So for example, if you look at this position, so we have 2 bishops, they're pinning everything is pinned in the black camp. He has the open file. So this is aesthetically very, very pleasing game. Every position in this game is fascinating. Okay, I hope you find this video useful, and I hope you like the game, and you like how I try to demonstrate some basic principles using this game. If you like this video, then please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, leave the comment below, of course, and see you very soon. Cheers.